Victor Dominello, the Minister for Digital and Customer Services, on the line. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Ray.
I don't want to be a pest, but I'm becoming one. You and I started conversations 2 weeks ago about the need for mandatory QR check-in. The mandatory mask became law yesterday. Now, there was a line in your direction that said they've got to, and you can correct me, make some attempt to make sure people do sign in and do have masks if they go to those retail outlets, be it Woolies, Coles or Aldi. Is that correct?
Yeah, they've got to take all reasonable steps to make sure that people have checked in. It's not good enough simply to put the QR code at the front of the store because that's the ugliest wallpaper you'll ever see. You know, the QR code is there for a reason, to help people check in so that in the event of an outbreak, they can be contacted and we can keep community safe. So, you know, best practice would have somebody at the front door saying, thank you, sir, thank you, madam. Can I see the green tick? Yes, please come through. Or as you just read out a moment before, help some of the more senior people in our community and show them how to use it, because I think that's a great education as well.
Well, I think what you need to do, and I'm not here to give you advice on a regular basis, but you need to pick up the phone and ring the CEOs of these organisations, including Mr. Banducci at Woolworths and his counterpart at Coles and Aldi, because it appears to be ad hoc. Like my local Woolies at Round Corner, there's a young lady at the front with a iPad, and when people don't have a phone, she takes their details down. But then I've got a list of Woolies stores across the Greater Sydney area where it's catch as catch can. People just walk in. If they happen to do it, they do it. Otherwise, they don't. Then we've got a case at Woolworths, Oran Park, which is now notified to be a close contact. If you've been there on certain dates, you've got to be careful. They've got a so-called picker, a young lady picking out groceries for an online purchaser, not wearing a mask. I think you've got to talk to these people to instruct their staff exactly what's happening. We had Coles posting on social media yesterday, you're supposed to wear a mask, you're supposed to QR, but it's not mandatory. We don't have to check it. And we contacted them and said, you do. And they then apologised and said, that was a tweet that shouldn't have gone out and the rest of it. I think these retailers and other retailers have to be on the same page as everyone else. They need a security guard out the front. They've made a lot of money over the past 15 months. Grocery stores and retailers, they need to have someone out the front doing this. It's got to be mandatory.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Ray. Like my mum's in a similar position. She doesn't understand, how to use digital in the same way that people like you or I would, for example. But when Mum went up to the local Woolworths, they actually had somebody out the front with an iPad there to help her check in, and that to me is gold standard. And if we don't have gold standard against Delta, we're going to fail. It's as simple as that. There's no halfway house on this. If the retailers who have made, as you pointed out, so much money over the last 18 months can't afford to help the community out with this, then they seriously have to have a look at themselves, because they're letting everyone down.
Well, while they're looking at themselves, pick up the phone, please. Ring Mr. Kane at CEO. Ring Mr. Banducci and say, boys, you're doing a good job, but you need to do better. If you can't leave it up to the store manager to determine out of his budget whether he can afford someone on the front door. You need to have someone on every front door, every Coles, Woolies and Aldi.
Agreed. They are, in many ways, they are like our front line, because they can help the community stay safe. So they've got an obligation.
All right, let's make sure they fulfil that obligation. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ray. Cheers.
Victor Dominello, New South Wales Minister for Digital and Customer Service. So the ball's back in the court, and they risk a fine, as I've indicated before. If these retail outlets don't comply, it's $5,500 per offence. Now, I know Woolies and Coles and Aldi can afford it, and other retailers might be able to afford it, but it's about doing the right thing. It's about being a good corporate citizen, not pretending to be. It's about being a good corporate citizen.